first match.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be Lin versus Dimaga, I believe. So both very, very high-level players, of course. Lin on Team We Made Fox in Korea, one of the most successful Warcraft 3 players, as you can see. And his macro style is insane. His games last so long, and yet even though he plays that insane macro style, he's got that unbelievable micro. So really a phenomenal player. But going up against Dimaga, who is just one of the best players in Europe right now, just destroying tournaments over there. So we could see some really amazing baneling busts in this game. We could see some really amazing late game. I'm assuming Lin's going to try to bring it out there. So could be some really great ZVTs going on.
Yeah, we've got a really interesting map pool for this tournament. It's got Match Point, it's got Test Bug, and then these standard maps that you're usually pretty used to seeing. I'm definitely looking forward to checking that out. Game 1's going to be on Dimaga Caverns, and it's going to be a best of 3, I believe, between these two players. And Lin is, I believe, in Code A, if I'm correct. Or if I'm not mistaken. Does that sound right?
Lin? I believe he's in Code S. I could be wrong about that.
He might have made it into Code S in the last season in the up-down matches. One way or another, very, very good player. And, of course, he's going to be going up against Dimaga, who's just an absolute beast all around. So I've got this game loaded up. And why don't we get ready to get started as soon as I hit this button. A little buggy there, but I've got this replay open and ready to go. We've got Dimaga versus Lin. He's going to be playing on the account of Bless. But I assure you that is Lin from Team We Made Fox. And why don't we hit the play button and get this game started in 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, great. So on the top right, morphing in, we do have Dimaga, our red Zerg. And at the bottom left, we do have Bless, a.k.a. Lin. Team We Made Fox is our blue Terran.
Yeah, it's going to be Terran versus Zerg here on Dimaga Caverns. This is going to be a pretty interesting matchup going down on this map. Of course, we've all seen it before. We've all seen it a ton of times. And, well, TV's on Dimaga Caverns. Some of the things you can expect: Marines, Baneling, Siege Tanks. This standard. Just to go over some of the map features really quickly here. 2 entrances, 3 entrances even, to the natural expansion. It's got an entrance on either side of this little hole or cavern in the middle, as well as the Tasteless Secret hallway on the top, or the hallway, or John's hallway of common knowledge down at the bottom. And middle of the map, split in 2 by this giant Dimaga Cavern, Dimaga Towers on either side, with some high ground on top. Don't see too many players actually use that high ground to put tanks or anything like that. I think the only person I've ever seen do it is actually Boxer. Beyond that, not too much of... Yeah, it was versus Idra, I believe. Not too much else about this map. Destructible rocks blocking this expansion here, as well as the gold. Terran players oftentimes will throw down a planetary fortress here at the gold, but doesn't look like we might see that happen at all, as Bless is actually throwing down, or Lin is throwing down a command center barracks over here at the side of the map.
Yeah, we do have this proxy barracks going down. That placement is really interesting, right? Because he doesn't actually place it that much closer to his opponent's base. You know, it's not like it's all the way out on the opposite side of the map, but it is outside of that Dimaga tower range, which is extremely important, so it could not be scouted by any kind of drone walking near that. But right now, Dimaga is going to be very concerned, considering he did go hatchery first, and his drone's in Lin's base right now, scouting absolutely nothing. He knows there's got to be some kind of proxy, got to be something strange going on right now. Now he's dropping down that spawning pool, hoping to see some gas go up from him pretty soon. But that barracks is done producing Marines, and we don't see a second barracks going down, so I think he's just trying to get Dimaga kind of on his heels here, worrying about some kind of 2 racks pressure, but it's really just going to be a 1 racks pressure, probably into a relatively quick expansion, I would assume.
He is going to have a drone on his base, and that drone is going to scout out that command center. So now Dimaga knows exactly what's going on. And he's going to see the Marine walking up to his natural expansion momentarily here. So he's going to have a pretty good idea that he is getting proxy racks. Of course, there's not too much aggression coming out of Lin, like you were saying. He's just trying to apply a little bit of pressure to this natural expansion. The spawning pool is just about to complete. He's pulling some drones off the line. There's only one Marine here, so he should be okay. He will, however, have to sacrifice a little bit of mining time just so that he can secure this expansion nice and safely.
Yeah, he is getting the expansion up, of course, earlier than the Terran. But, I mean, he's having to spend his lever right now on Zerglings. We have 6 Zerglings in production just for this one barracks that he proxied. And I believe he only made, 2 Marines total. So forcing him to make those 6 Zerglings when he probably would have rather been making drones at that time is, you know, it's small, but it's a good move for Lin to get himself a little macro advantage as he takes this expansion for himself.
Yeah, so right now Dimaga is moving those 6 Zerglings out on the map to try and take some map control, look around, see if he can spot that barracks. But that barracks was indeed lifted back into the main base of Lin so that he can complete this wall. And it looks like these Zerglings right now are going to try and poke up against that wall, but there are a trio of Marines hanging out there on the top, so they won't really be able to do very much damage, and Dimaga is only going to send one up the ramp just to get an idea of what's going on, poking up there very quickly so he can avoid actually getting shot and get that Zergling out there nice and safely. Meanwhile, we see Lin adding on a tech lab and a factory and a 3rd barracks here. Really wants to take this expansion, get it nice and secured, and then start applying some pressure to Dimaga. We'll have to see what he actually uses this factory for, whether he uses it to pump out some Hellions, or what people mostly tend to expect out of Terrans is, of course, the siege tanks. Stim is on the way. We can see it there on the production tab. And Dimaga is going to be getting the layer here at this natural expansion. This, of course, boosts its HP a little bit and makes that expansion a little more durable, which is something that he's really going to be weary about, especially going into the mid-game here against a Terran player.
Yeah, and he actually used that queen down at the natural to drop creep tumor before he actually started producing larva, which I love that decision. Start getting that creep spread around the map really early on instead of going for those early larva. He knows his expansion was up slightly earlier than Lin's, and he can afford to do that. So he's going to have a little bit better map control as we get into the mid game, and that creep spread's really going to help him when their armies start clashing later on.
Yeah, so Dimaga's layer is just about to complete. You can see that he's continuing to drone up and continuing to add Zerglings. Wants to have a decent-sized force for any potential attacks that could come out going into the mid-game here. Does not want to get caught off guard. Layer is now complete, and I would not be surprised to see him throw down something like a Baneling Nest. Still only has 1 out of 4 of his accessible Vespene geysers, so not a lot of gas to work with. You see he's only got about 200, and no, he's not going to throw down a Baneling Nest. He's going to throw down an infestation pit here in the natural expansion. Dimaga looking like he's going to go straight for infestors or maybe hive tech, but considering the way the metagame has been changing and Zerg players really starting to learn the power that is fungal growth, I would not be at all surprised to see that that is exactly what Dimaga is going to be going for. Also going to be adding on 2 more extractors so that he has that gas. And meanwhile, Lin is just going to set up a nice defensive position here and get his economy rolling.
Yeah, it's really interesting that double gas timing at the natural because he got that infestation pit, then dropped down his quad gas. And if you look, he's actually at almost 1,000 minerals right now. So I feel like if he got that double gas a lot earlier, he'd already be able to start making infestors. He'd have a little bit lower mineral count, instead have some of that gas. So Dimaga's build seems a little unoptimized right now. Maybe he's going for something that I just don't see coming, but it doesn't seem healthy to me right now for him to be sitting on 1,000 minerals for the past couple of minutes.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting choice. I'm definitely curious to see what his plan is here. I do think he might want to throw down a 3rd hatchery right away. He's got 2 infestors on the way. And for any of the new Zerg players out there who are tuning in to the stream right now, if you start pathogen glands, let it go to about 30 out of 80, and then start your infestors afterwards, and the infestors will pop with the pathogen gland upgrade complete, because infestors do take 50 in-game seconds to finish. And right now, Lin is going to scout out this 3rd hatchery, and he's going to have a pretty good idea of when Dimaga is taking that 3rd expansion, which is a pretty crucial timing in this matchup. And right now, Lin is going to be moving out with a pair of siege tanks and a decent size of Marines, and he's got no fungal growths out on the field to worry about. Right this minute, I do think of 2 infestors have finished, but there are no banelings. All he really has to do is make sure that those infestors die before the fungal growths get off, and he will be okay. He's got a medevac with a lot of energy here as well, and if he gets a few more of those out, he might be able to slow down fungal growth from actually doing a ton of damage but his timing window is closing very quickly, as that infestor count is only going to continue to grow. 3 infestors out on the field right now, and he's actually going to be getting Neuroparasite as well, so very interesting strategy coming out of Dimaga so far.
Yeah, and I mean, he's actually getting that double Evo at the natural now, which is great. However, Bless, aka Lin, is actually almost done with +1 attack for his Marines. He doesn't have a second eBay, though, so, I mean, there's going to be an interesting timing window right now where Lin's going to have +1. He's moving out right now. Dimaga's not going to have that. He's not going to have 1-1 until much later in the game. Here comes the attack. Tank's sieging up much later than expected, and the fungal hitting everything. Lin getting absolutely destroyed right there.
Yeah, a lot of losses right now for Lin. He's in a lot of trouble. Ton of Zerglings making their way into the natural expansion. Going to immediately start burning down those Marines, taking care of that bunker. Infestor is going to launch some Infested Terrans into the mineral line, and Lin is going to pull those SCVs out of there, try and hold this attack off. And the Zerglings just continuing to rip through Lin's forces. Some more reinforcements coming out of the main base right now, and the SCVs are going to try to get back to mining. And it looks like Lin has been able to hold this attack off, as Dimaga is now retreating. However, supply counts pretty much in favor of Dimaga, as we see them 99 for Dimaga, 76 for Lin, aka Bless, and Dimaga is going to continue just droning up, getting his macro rolling. Hive already on the way. We're 12 minutes and 30 seconds into the game. So it's not generally when we see the Hive tech get started, but something that a lot of players have been really just grinding Zerg players about, getting that Hive tech really early and just hammering the Terran player with a really quick Broodlord timing or something like that. And with a 3-base economy, it's going to be something that Dimaga is really going to be able to do, especially considering he's going to be on 3 bases against 2 with a supply advantage.
Oh, here comes Dimaga up on the front. Meanwhile, Lin is going for a drop at the main of Dimaga right now. It's going to be up there pretty soon, but it might be a risky move. Dimaga's moving forward with tons of infestors and Zerglings, and I don't know if Lin will be able to defend his main if Dimaga simply attacks into it.
Yes, so the drop is just about to land in the main base of Dimaga. A lot of drones here. 7 Marines right now, and all of these drones are going to hightail it out of there. A ton of Zerglings streaming their way in back into the main base. He's going to be able to hold this drop out without too many losses. If we take a look at the units killed tab overlay here, we can see that Dimaga has still killed 12 SCVs, and Lin was only able to kill 3 drones there. So drop not doing a lot. He is going to keep that in the corner of the map to try and shut that down a little bit later, but Dimaga is going to respond with 4 spine crawlers here in the main base, so those Marines will not have anywhere to land safely, and he's going to have to find another way to get into that main base. Meanwhile,
Ultralisk Cavern going up for Dimaga as well at the natural, so that could be what, I mean, that's what he went for with that Hive tech, obviously not going for the Broodlord option. How do you think Ultralisk are going to pan out versus this Marine tech that Lin's got going on?
Well, we can see right now siege tank count not super high. Siege tanks are generally what really threaten the Ultralisks, and only 30 Marines on the field. Those Ultralisks are going to chew through those Marines very quickly. Not a lot of Marauders out right now, and he's added on a few Ghosts right now to try and deal with those Infestors, but if this Ultralisk count just gets too high too quickly, then Lin is going to just not be able to deal with it. This attack coming around through the Taste of Secret hallway was spotted by Dimaga. He's immediately repositioning some Zerglings to prevent that from actually doing anything, and Lin is trying to get this medevac out of the main base.
Yeah, he actually dropped again, despite the spine crawlers. Lost 4 of the Marines, didn't do any damage. So Dimaga doing a great job just defending all these expansions and making it completely impregnable to Lin's drops. But meanwhile, Lin is moving out to try to take this gold expansion with this command center. He has not taken out the Historical Rocks yet, however.
Yeah, he's going to have to buy himself some time to burn through those. He wants to get that done pretty soon, as the creep spread is almost in position to actually block that command center from landing. He hasn't scanned at all to eliminate any of these creep tumors. This creep tumor is actually giving a vision of what's going on here. So Dimaga is going to launch an attack. Siege tank's completely out of position. He could go for it right now, but no, he's not going to go for it. Instead, he is going to fall back and wait for these Ultralisks to pop. There were 8 Ultralisks under construction just a moment ago, and 4 more making their way out from those eggs. Another drop going down here at the natural expansion, going to get shut down. And Lin trying to poke forward a little bit. He did take out a few of those creep tumors, limiting the vision and mobility of Dimaga. He's going to be able to secure this gold expansion. But right now, supply count's 180 for Dimaga and 150 for Lin, and there are Ultralists in this mix from the Zerg player. He's in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, the income tab is just as scary. Dimaga at about twice as much as Lin right now, and his +2, both armor and attack, are almost, I don't know, about 2/3 of the way done. So if he finishes those, never mind, he's actually going forward for the attack regardless. He knows he has the positioning. This Planetary Fortress is not finished yet, although it's going to finish during this fight. Infester's in the back. He does get shut down.
Yeah, I think he was a little bit scared of the fact that a lot of Infestors got nailed by those EMPs. We can see right now most of them don't have any energy to work with, and he doesn't have a lot of really strong supporting units behind these Ultralists. Just Ultralist, Zerglings, and Infestors out of the Zerg player right now, so he has to be really careful with this one. He can't make too many mistakes. Nice fungal growths are going to go down. That's going to allow the Ultralist to close in on that bio. We can see them chewing through very quickly. Infested Terrans landing in front of those siege tanks, but excellent positioning by Lin right now. We can see he's got a very strong line of siege tanks here in this corridor, making it very hard for the Zerg player to attack into this and deal any significant damage.
Yeah, that seemed like a huge blunder for Dimaga, because if you looked, his 2-2 was actually about 5 seconds from completion when he attacked there. And I feel like, you know, at least he would have some more effectiveness with his army if he'd waited for those upgrades. Instead, he keeps attacking the sieged tanks in relatively bad positioning. So this really back and forth game. This gold expansion might get dropped here. And you know, Dimaga is blocking it off, sending in Ultralisk with a really great flank to deal with those siege tanks by the Zelnaga Watchtower. So excellent play by Dimaga, cleaning up this this aggression without too much of an issue, although there are 3 tanks still left over for Lin.
Yeah, we can see right now the lack of upgrades out of the Terran player, and the fact that he's making so many Marines. 6 Marines coming up at a time, going up against the 5 armor from the Ultralist. You can see that this Ultralist is 5 kills. That was all bio, and only took 50 damage. Meanwhile, some of the bio actually runs up, snipes the gold expansion without Dimaga even reacting. Now Dimaga is going to try and launch a counterattack once again. A lot of Ultralists in this mix. It's going to be pretty hard for Lin to hold this off, but a lot of these Ultralists are quite weak. However, the fungal growths are going to go down. Oh, he's also going to be dropping Ultralists and Zerglings on top of these units, and now is going to be launching an assault here on this gold expansion. Fungal growths going down on the Medivacs. He's going to also look for an expansion down here at the bottom, not find it. Mass repair going down here on the gold expansion, but too many Ultralisks, too much DPS, and Lin is going to throw out the GG. Excellent play coming out of Dimaga there.
Yeah, Dimaga really in control almost that entire game. There was that one really brief moment. He got his hatchery taken out of the gold base. But, I mean, in that last attack, he won so very convincingly. And he didn't even, I don't know if you noticed, but his Overlords actually had a bunch of units in them. He actually had 16 Zerglings and an Ultralisk in Overlords to be able to drop them on top of tanks, and he didn't even need to. He never bothered dropping them because, I mean, he had won so handily. So, Dimaga, really phenomenal player. Out macroing Lin, who is, you know, not necessarily the king of macro, but definitely an extremely macro-oriented player. So, really fantastic play throughout that game from Dimaga.
Yeah, so I'm definitely looking forward to what we're going to see here in Game 2. A little bit of a preview. Game 2 is going to be on Metalopolis, and I believe this version of Metalopolis is going to not have the cross positions blocked. And, well, after that last game, I mean, Dimaga showing us that skipping Roaches, skipping Hydralisks, skipping Mutalisks, skipping Banelings even, is completely viable in this matchup. Very interesting play coming out of the Zerg players. So all you Zerg players out there definitely want to be taking some notes from the master that is Dimaga. And with that, we're going to go into Game 2 momentarily here, so stay tuned. Once again, you guys are watching the Gigabyte StarsWar Killer Tournament number 6 here on IC Cup TV. I am Prodigy, and with me is Orb, and we'll be right back.